think I've ever heard it this quiet in this room. What is going on?
Good
Test,
point,
test,
good
test,
point.
test, test. You guys got a voice level?
There's not even a little bit of chit chat.
Mr. Chairman.
Good afternoon. My name is Gary Besaw, and I am the chairman of the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin and chairman of the Menominee Kenosha Gaming Authority. With me speaking today, I am joined by my partner, Mr. Jim Allen, who is chairman of Hard Rock International. We will also introduce several speakers that will come forward later with comments. Together, Menominee and Hard Rock are partners in the proposed Kenosha gaming project. Together, we've gone through a wide range of emotions since Governor Walker's misinformed, in my belief, misinformed rejection of the project last month. But we've heard from so many people on both sides of the aisles. We've heard from Democrats, Republicans. We've heard from many people about the concerns they have, and they're bothered and they're angry about the decision. And they also believe that this is a misinformed decision, that this is too good for Wisconsin. People have told us Menominee and Hard Rock had gone above and beyond to make sure that the state taxpayers and those individuals, both in southeast Wisconsin and northeast Wisconsin, could thrive and that this could grow our economy. We met with the Bureau of Indian Affairs 2 weeks ago, and we had been told by the Bureau that the governor has until February 19th, and that if he were to reverse his decision, if he were to meet with us and hear not only those current facts that we had agreed to with our compact, but anything else going forward, and you're going to hear of some great additional opportunities that the Menominee and Hard Rock are putting forward, that if we met and now this was enough for the governor to look at it and say, yes, indeed, any intrepidation I had, this now resolves that. The governor can change his mind. He can reverse the non-concurrence, and he can come back, and the Bureau will accept that determination up through the February 19th timeline. And there's a reason that we believe the state of Wisconsin and everyone from a long time ago had come forward and seriously listened to us. And that was because we brought forward one of the premier brands in the world. And with that, I'm going to ask Mr. Jim Allen, chairman of Hard Rock International, to please come forward.
Thank you, Gary. Really just a few comments from a Hard Rock perspective. This is, in our belief, a wonderful opportunity for Governor Walker and for the state of Wisconsin to create jobs, to create an amazing economic benefit and impact for the state of Wisconsin. And people say, well, why is that? And we certainly recognize that there are those who doubt the numbers, who want to challenge the numbers. But I think it's important for everyone to understand what's happening in the hospitality and the gaming industry throughout the United States. In most states, revenue share or taxes that are being collected, and these are states like Massachusetts, Pennsylvania, Maryland, New York, tax rates are 40, 50, and 60%. The negotiated compact with all the tribes in the state of Wisconsin obviously allows a successful brand like ours and an $800 million facility like this to create tremendous economic contributions to the state. And we believe as we look at this particular facility and opportunity with over 8 million people within a 50-mile radius, and even in the governor's own study, the greatest percentage of this revenue coming from the state of Illinois, this is an opportunity to create 10,000 jobs, truly help the almost 9,000 members of the Menominee tribe to enhance and increase their standard of living and the quality of life for them. For the life of us, we don't quite understand what the issues may be, but what we do know is the following. We are happy, ready, and willing at any time to go back through and look at the studies that concluded there would be a positive jobs impact, in the state of Wisconsin. We were then told that there was a concern that the Potawatomi, by filing a lawsuit against the Department of Interior, is going to challenge all the payments that they made to the state of Wisconsin. We certainly respect Potawatomi's decision to do so. We have then stepped up, and on behalf of Seminole Hard Rock Entertainment and its affiliates, we have said now not only a $250, but a $275 million bond or letter of credit will be put in place in order to ensure the taxpayers and the citizens of the state of Wisconsin that they do not need to be concerned about that being a budget shortfall for the state itself. Last but not least, back in October of when we started these particular negotiations, we submitted to the state that we were willing to pledge 2.5% of our gross net gaming revenues to help subsidize different governmental projects throughout the state of Wisconsin. And specifically in those conversations, we talked about the Milwaukee Bucks and the potential of their stadium. We are now committed today to say that we will continue that pledge and specifically address a $223 million, I believe it is, $12 million per year for the next 25 years in order to ensure that that potential gap that is there in the proposed budget that the governor has submitted in order to keep the Bucks here in the state of Wisconsin. Now, we recognize people say, well, how are we going to do this? The only way we can offer this opportunity to the state, and obviously to Governor Walker and Secretary Hips, is to revisit the conversation, revisit the negotiations. We certainly admire and respect the governor making the decision, which now has made us take a second look at the economic offer that we made, and we've reconsidered that. And we're happy to sit down with him and try to negotiate something that keeps the jobs in Wisconsin, creates a $1.2 billion commitment to the state when it comes to the total revenue share that's projected. All the studies concluded that there'll be a positive gain in jobs, over 10,000. It'll impact every carpenter, plumber, electrician, all the vendors, all the construction trades, and close to 4,000 permanent jobs. So we're hopeful that, well, as Chairman said, I personally met with the Secretary of Interior to ensure that if the governor is willing to revisit this issue, that we are ready, willing, and able to do so. We're hopeful that he will take this opportunity to benefit the citizens of Wisconsin, and most importantly, do not allow the opportunity to go next door to the state of Illinois, where, very frankly, we've already been approached. The Monday after the governor said no, we were approached by elected officials and by property owners in the state to say, let's bring this project here to Illinois. That's not Hard Rock's intention. I know it's not the Menominee's intention, and we're hopeful that this could be beneficial for the state of Wisconsin. With that, I'll turn it back over to Gary.
So here is part of the main reason we're here today. To help the governor take a fresh look at this project, today I am announcing that the Menominee Indian Tribe of Wisconsin will contribute $220 million to cover the state taxpayers' share for a new Milwaukee Bucks arena in downtown Milwaukee. In addition to keeping the Bucks here in Wisconsin, this move frees taxpayer money, and it allows us to reuse that funding for senior care, assistance with the UW system, for roads and other critical systems. We call this contribution, the $220 million, Menominee Bucks for Milwaukee Bucks. This will happen if the Menominee Hard Rock Kenosha is allowed to move forward. We ask that Governor Walker take the time to meet with us and review this proposal when he returns from his trade mission to the United Kingdom. We look forward to further discussing this homegrown business opportunity, one that will create thousands of new jobs and help keep the NBA in Wisconsin. We have watched with interest as Governor Walker has proposed using $220 million in public money to build a new Milwaukee arena for the Bucks. And we've watched as state legislators, conservative groups, and others from throughout Wisconsin and across the political spectrum object to using taxpayer money for an arena, especially at a time when the state is cutting University of Wisconsin funding by $300 million, reducing care for our seniors, and borrowing hundreds of millions of dollars for our road system. Even the Assembly Speaker said last week that the governor's arena plan basically had zero chance for approval. The $220 million arena contribution and the increase from $250 to now $275 million bond will be on top of and in addition to the $1.2 million in Kenosha gaming revenue that the tribe has already committed via our compact to the state of Wisconsin. Menominee's total contribution adds up to $1.7 billion. That's billion with the B. A jackpot aimed at demonstrating to Governor Walker that we are truly committed to being partners in economic development and job creation, and that we're willing to share our profits in Kenosha for the greater good of the state, including a new Bucks home. Governor Walker has claimed that he will not leave taxpayers on the hook for $100 million or more in supposed losses due to gaming agreements with Forest County Potawatomi. Candidly, his opposition is puzzling to us, including the governor's own outside counsel specifically agrees with our stance that these are any outside risks or litigation are very, very, very far-fetched, and we believe so strongly in that we've put the bonds forward. The litigation will not be successful. We know that. But we've put that forward. We want to make sure that the governor understands and is comfortable. So we've made sure we've indemnified him for even that potential. Governor Walker, the fact of the matter is that taxpayers are off the hook. They're off the hook for any costs related to the Kenosha project, and now they're off the hook for any burden related to a Bucks arena. Whatever analysis Governor Walker used when the project was originally rejected, we believe was inaccurate, and we ask him to come forward and to meet with us and review what we know are the true circumstances regarding the compact, the risk that has been removed via the compact, and also look at the two additional pieces of information we had brought forward. The $270 million bond that we had brought forward, as well as this new $220 million, the Menominee Bucks for Milwaukee Bucks. And we asked him to review that. Remember, he has until February 19th to make what would be the best decision for Wisconsin and Wisconsin taxpayers. At this time, I'm going to be asking several individuals to come forward also to give comment, and then we will be taking some questions. I'm first going to be asking Assembly Minority Leader Peter Barca to please step forward.
I'm going to go first.
We'll let her go first, I'll go second.
Okay.
It's a bipartisan effort here.
Representative Sam Kirkman, please. I'm sorry.
Well, it's great to be back here, and I'm excited about this additional opportunity. After the governor's announcements, I made several calls the following week, and one was to the Menominee to let them know that I am still in their court and will do whatever in my power to help them with this process. My second call was to Hard Rock to, again, thank them for their commitment to the state of Wisconsin and to southeastern Wisconsin and to my constituents. This is something I hear about all the time. I cannot go anywhere in Kenosha County or into Racine County without somebody asking me about this particular project. And I believe this additional offer is another game changer. I thought when Hard Rock came in October of 2013, it was a game changer. I think this is the second game changer, and want to bring this project home. 10,000 jobs in the state of Wisconsin is dependent upon this particular project. $800 million of economic impact to Racine, Kenosha, and southeastern Wisconsin. And now this additional offer. The taxpayers won't be on the hook. Hard Rock has stepped up with the Menominee to really create a package here that I think protects everybody and is an economic boom to our state. There's $2 to $4 billion left on the table by a study that was done for the Illinois legislature just over the border. Now, I live about 10 minutes from the Illinois-Wisconsin border. I want to bring that money here to Wisconsin. I want to create jobs here in Wisconsin, and I want to bring $1.6 billion of economic development over 10 years to my district, to Kenosha County. I'm excited when I have my colleagues like Speaker Voss say that this is a proposal that I think the governor needs to take a second look at. I think that is important, that my colleagues who have the ability to persuade the governor, along with the colleagues that I'm standing here united with today. So that's why I'm here. I have faced a long journey with the Menominee people and now Hard Rock. This has been a decade in the making. And I just want to bring this home, and I want to see Hard Rock built on a dog track in Kenosha County at the 158 interstate exit. And that's why I'm here today. I hope the governor will take a moment to really look at this additional information that has come in. From talking to people yesterday, as it started to trickle out, my phone started to go crazy with phone calls last night, and people are really excited about this, and I hope the governor will revisit it. So at this time, I'm now going to turn it over to my neighbor, Representative Peter Barca.
Well, thank you. I know I speak for all the legislators here on a bipartisan basis and a number of others that couldn't make it here today, that we think any governor in the entire nation would salivate at the notion of having two magnificent entertainment venues with not a dime of taxpayer money having to be put forward. Let me repeat that. Two magnificent entertainment venues without a dime of taxpayer money being put forward. Now, if the governor was being straight with the citizens of this state when he said his sole objective was protecting the taxpayers, then it's inconceivable when he reviews this offer after he comes back from London that he wouldn't approve it. First of all, the $275 million bond to completely indemnify the taxpayers for any kind of lawsuit that might ensue, but then to add to it now this $220 million that the taxpayers would be on the hook for. And when you operationalize the cost of that, it's close to $400 million that taxpayers would have to make up in order to cover the $220 million for the Bucks Arena. And that's why this is such an important proposal. I know in October, as the chairman stated, they had offered almost half this as an offer. They've now made it a much more appealing offer. I think they've been very attuned to the challenges that we have budgetarily in this state. They recognize that this is something that would be a double bonanza for the taxpayers, a total win-win-win. And that's why this is just so vitally important. As Representative Kirkman said, and this is all we hear about. We were just at a sports night, Senator Wirtz myself, several legislators, and that's all people are talking about in the Kenosha Racine area, is how vital they believe this proposal is. 10,000 jobs, up to 5 million more tourists a year, $800 million of investment, and now to add to it, taking the taxpayers off the hook for a new entertainment venue, for an arena for the Bucks and Marquette and the other people that play there, is just an incredibly generous offer. We're excited about it. I hope the governor will be excited. I've been in a lot of trade missions. I have no doubt the governor's working hard in London. But the one thing I know, he won't bring back 10,000 jobs. He won't bring back a commitment for close to 5 million tourists. He won't bring back a contractual offer to pay the public share of $220 million for a new arena. We have this waiting for him when he comes back, and we're just saying, Governor, say yes. The taxpayers are protected. That's what you've told the citizens of this state was your major concern. And any one of these legislators, I'm sure, be happy to answer any questions, that we thoroughly believe there's not a nickel of taxpayer risk being put forward for this. So great to be with you all, and I think the chairman or Jeff Allen or any of us would be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Well, Secretary Hitch today said at luncheon that if this was a serious offer, it would have been not done through press release, but they had negotiations with the governor's office. He hadn't heard about it before, so if you guys answer that.
Well, first of all, let me make it clear that I know, and maybe the chairman wants to answer this, I know they called early this morning. As the chairman stated in his remarks, back in October, they made this offer to cover for 10 years 2.5% of their revenue, which amounts to close to half of what we're looking at here. So this is not the first time an offer of this sort has been made, but obviously they've stepped it up to make it more generous, and because also they know the governor indicated his only concern was to protect the taxpayers, so they've more than done that.
I don't know if anybody else wants to.
Oh, as a starting point also, that offer that was made in October, Jim could probably speak to that, but that offer that was made in October would have been about $100 million is what it comes up to. And if you extrapolate that out over 25 years, it's about $300 million, Jim? Is that about right?
Yeah, when you include the debt service associated with it.
So I think in this process, we've gotten to a point here where they have, I guess, re-energized this whole process. And I don't think that it's bad to go back and rethink and relook at what's happened simply because of the fact that things have changed. And if he based his decision on something else, weeks ago, I think there's a lot of game changers. You don't have somebody like Hard Rock, which is an internationally known venue that is $1 billion corporation continuing to invest in this opportunity for us. And like Samantha and I have heard in the district constantly, I don't think I can go to the grocery store without 10 people stopping me. My wife doesn't want me to go in for bread because I'm going to be in there an hour, and it's all about this casino issue. So I think this is a good opportunity for Secretary Hipsch and for our governor to take a peek at this and really look at what the numbers are. I know we've heard that potentially these numbers, they can't do that. I don't know if they're going to be able to come up with that. Well, let me tell you, you're not going to have people like Hard Rock here supporting this effort, in conjunction with the tribe who's been working on this for a decade plus, and they're not going to do that if they don't have the resources to be able to do that. So I think this is a huge game changer, and I hope that the right decision comes through, that we look at putting 10,000 jobs on the line down in the 21st District.
Jim, can you address my
Sure.
comments?
I think number one, whether it be this particular transaction or any negotiation, something I learned a long time ago is it's a winding road. And as obviously, if you look at the significance of the Bucks, stay here in Milwaukee, is much different today than what it was in the summer or obviously in the fall. So as we saw this becoming a more significant issue, and we certainly respect the governor's initial decision, we took a step back to see how we can try to ease the burden that is a challenge of obviously having this funding come from the state. We think that's good business. We think that's showing that we want to be a partner to the state of Wisconsin and obviously Governor Walker. So we look at this not as a negative, but actually as a way to try to help the governor to fulfill one of his dreams and visions, and obviously all the citizens of the state, which is to keep the Bucks here in Milwaukee and not have them go to Seattle.
But why not speak about those points either yesterday or this morning to Mike Hipsch or someone else at the governor's office before holding press conferences?
Well, we've had a request in the governor's office for some time to try to sit down and understand, what the decision was. When we saw Governor Walker's comments about the concern associated with Potawatomi, which was roughly, and the exposure that may happen to the state, and he could not allow the state to have this $200 million budget potential shortfall, we immediately that night, I was on conference calls much of the night with Bank of America and Merrill Lynch, securing the $250 million bond offer at that time. At that particular time, we did not receive a call from the state to say, what does this mean? How can we discuss it? So I think it's important that the state obviously has two issues that are out there that we can be helpful with. And we look at this as a way to be helpful. We're not looking to say the process wasn't fair. We just know that there are two material differences now in the offer that we started with at our last negotiations with the state. And we're hopeful that we could sit down and try to make this road a little bit easier for obviously the state and for Governor Walker and Secretary Hibbs.
You keep throwing around millions of dollars like it's pennies. You said, first you're at 250, now you're at 275. Now you're promising another 220 million. Where does this money come from? Especially when the casino, as I understand, it's going to be built in phases. It's going to start out small. How can you guarantee that this money is going to be generated?
I think that's a part of my opening comments. That I think it's a really excellent question. So we in the industry, whether it's in Las Vegas or, pick a particular jurisdiction, Massachusetts most recently awarding, state of New York just awarding 4 gaming licenses. We look at population, we look at household incomes. What we know is that when you have a regional casino like this with 8.2 million people, and in excess of, in the governor's own study, in excess of 80% of the projected revenues coming from the state of Illinois, we know that we make a business decision based upon financing of what we can afford to pay to the state. And what you see time and time again in state after state after state is gaming companies, not just like Hard Rock, but whether it be Steve Wynn or MGM or Caesars, the list just goes on, where they'll pay 30, 40, 50, 60, and in some cases 67%. We ourselves are paying 42% of our gross gaming revenues in the state of Ohio. So when here, the compact, in our worst case scenario, if everything falls negatively, we still would be under 20% of total revenue that would be paid to the state of Wisconsin. And we believe 100%, and obviously that is the reason why Bank of America and Merrill Lynch gave us a highly confident letter, which they don't just do for any project, in order to get the additional financing needed for these projects. So when you look at 8 million people, we believe gross gaming revenues minimum $500–600 million a year. Obviously, the math works very favorable. Most importantly, we have stated that we'll put those buckets, if you will, in the waterfall in front of our fees, all right, to ensure that that's how confident we are, so that the state will get paid before Hard Rock does. And I'm not sure anything more I can offer the governor or the state of Wisconsin. Basically, we're saying we'll work for free, okay, if we're not able to reach the revenue projections that we believe is in the business model.
I have a question for Senator Lingard and Representative Crookman. If the governor does reject this, would you, and the state budget includes any money for the bucks, any taxpayer money, would you be able to vote for that budget? You want to go first?
I will go first. How's that? It's very difficult to look at the bonding issue that's there, the way it's set up. Again, for Milwaukee, to look at taking taxpayer dollars, even though it's future dollars. I like the way that it's organized, but it's really difficult when we have an offer that is going to eliminate total taxpayer dollars to say no and say yes to the bonding issue. So it makes that decision a whole lot different decision on where I'm going to be in the yes or the no column. So, I'd
have to agree. I will say that just having the Milwaukee Bucks proposal in the budget to begin with is a challenging issue.
I would agree with that too.
Even before this. Being a legislator that has represented the Racine, Kenosha area through the Milwaukee Brewers, and then I was a legislator here during the Green Bay conversation. So this is something that I guess as I go forward, I will have to reach out and talk to my constituents, just like every other proposal in the state budget.
And I would agree with Sam on that too, because generally we're talking to quite a few people every day about this issue, so I'm sure this is going to come up again, especially after you guys report this.
Any other questions for any of us?
Thank you all.
Chairman?
One question, sorry. If and anybody can answer this. If this ultimately gets rejected again, can you see a scenario where Governor Walker, whether it's a gubernatorial election, a presidential election, can expect to win Kenosha and Machine counties?
Let me say that. Bob, would you add to that one, Bob?
I listen to my constituents a lot. I'm used to the Democrats coming up with negative opinions on Walker. I have never heard as many angry Republicans in my district over this. So I think his popularity is at an all-time low in the 22nd district. But the amazing thing is the negative comments from the Republicans who have talked to me personally and called my office.
And I just want to add, Governor Walker actually won Kenosha County during 2012, or excuse me, 2010. Then he lost it in the recall, and then he won it again in 2012. So I am, in talking to my constituents in the 61st Assembly District, I would say that right now he would have a very challenging time of pulling that many votes in Kenosha County, actually winning the county.
I hear a lot of negatives in Racine and Kenosha County, both because my district covers both of them in the county areas, and it's going to be challenging. I think that the important thing to take away from here is that we have, I think, substantially a different proposition being made than what actually was considered in the first part. I don't think that there was true consideration given to the bonding issue in the beginning, because they were coming out almost concurrently, and I think that that was kind of an issue. But I think we still have time, and I think that I would ask that my governor would sit down and talk with the tribe and talk with the stakeholders in this, because this is really important. You know, every person that I talk to has a brother, a sister, a dad, a mom, a nephew, a son, or a neighbor. This is one of their jobs down in Racine County. It's not necessarily a job that needs a real high skill, but it's jobs that people can be trained in, that they can make a living wage. I mean, this is huge, and it's huge for the Menominee tribe, that they would be able to lift their level of opportunity for their people within the tribe. One of the poorest tribes we have in the state of Wisconsin. So I think with all this given, I would at least ask, and I think my fellow legislators here would also agree, I think it's important enough to sit down and chat about this and really have an honest discussion, because what I'm hearing, I hear that the numbers, they just don't seem to be working out. Well, gee whiz, Jim, why are you here? If the numbers don't work out, Hard Rock would not be here. So I think this is what we need to take away, the fact that we have substantially a completely different approach to this, and it's a positive approach, which takes the taxpayer off the hook in more than one instance here. So I thought that was the impediment to this whole issue, and I think that the tribe and Hard Rock has stepped up and they've eliminated that issue.
I have a question about taking the taxpayers off the hook, and maybe everybody else here understands. But the way, explain how the bond that's been proposed would work. Representative Barker refers in his news release to the jock tax, and I'm trying to be clear, which taxpayers, is it all taxpayers that would be on the hook for paying that bond?
Well, sure, I can tell you that I talked to my office, talked to Director Lane, and from the Fiscal Bureau, and he estimated that at 4% interest over the life of the bonds, that it would cost roughly $380 million to service those bonds. Now, what the governor did is he calculated the added value that we would hope would come in from the jock tax, where they pay, when traveling teams come here, they pay a percentage of that. But our point is that, first of all, when you talk about having the taxpayers on the hook, there's a lot of questions there. I mean, what is the guarantee? The Bucks will stay there for the lifetime of the contract. Secondly, we're depending on the NBA in their arbitration, raising the salaries of NBA players to pay the cost of that. Third, you're depending on all the other revenue sources that help to finance the arena. So there are questions there. And this, though, totally removes the taxpayers from being off the hook. The other point I would make is the jock tax, the jock tax in the past has gone to help pay for education. I mean, we have a $300 million hole now in our university budget. There's a hole in the K-12 budget. Jocks go to school. You know, I'm sure they would like their idea of their money going to help finance education as opposed to an arena. In some places, it's been privately financed. We have an opportunity here in Wisconsin for the first time, to not have any taxpayer dollars put at stake because they're willing to cover that amount. So think about that. That's where you get 2 entertainment venues with not a dime of taxpayer money. That's why if the governor was being straight, that his concern was protecting the taxpayers, he's not only protecting them now where they've gotten Merrill Lynch and Bank of America to sign off on this bond. It wasn't just a proposal. They now have the bond ready to go, as Senator Van Wanggaard indicated. But secondly, they've got $220 million that they're willing to put forward to take the taxpayers totally off the hook. So I hope I've answered that, but if you have a follow-up or anybody else wants to clarify, I'm happy to.
A question for Chairman Besaw as well. I mean, have you heard anything from either the Potawatomi or the Ho-Chunk or the tribes that have been opposed to the Kenosha Casino since making this new proposal?
No, we have not heard anything from either of the tribes after this proposal. But let it be clear, as we step forward here now, we've made sure with our compact that any perceived risk in the compact, as we negotiated with the governor's council, the governor and the tribe signed off on what we both agreed would take care of that risk. We were later told there was a perceived potential of maybe having to reimburse Potawatomi for any of the money that they had paid into the state, and that come out to that $243 million. We stepped up again and said, we'll make sure that's taken care of. We watched the governor's budget speech, and we understand now again there is that perception of risk, taxpayer risk. We understand this can be one of those ways we step forward to be a good community member, to take care of that, to really revitalize the whole southeast corridor. And we asked then that the governor reconsider that decision based on the new information that's come forward. And we really pray that he takes us serious, because we are serious, and that we can have him reconsider this, because we know the Bureau will allow that. Are there any other questions? If we have no other questions, we thank you all for being here today. Thank you for taking the time.
Nice job, Gary.